Hello and welcome back to Throttle Up. Now, a few days back, I was actually reviewing the SX optional of the Hyundai Venue 22 and I thought that SX would be the better selling variant. So, why not give SX variant of the Venue an entirely different review of its own? So, here we are, and I welcome you to the Hyundai Venue's 2022 SX variant review, where I talk about all the features and what all does this car have to offer. The first thing is that it is available in multiple variants starting from E, S, S optional, S plus, then comes SX and then SX optional. So it's essentially just one down from the topmost SX optional variant. It's available in two engine options, which is the 1.2 liter petrol and a 1.5 liter diesel. The SX misses out on 1.2 turbo petrol option, which also means that it misses out on the IMT and the DCD transmission. So that's a miss, and for that you'll have to upgrade to the SX optional. You would have to either opt for the SX optional or the S optional, which is actually two below the SX variant itself. But this variant does not get any automatic transmission option. Now let's open the bonnet of the car, where first thing that I realized that it's kind of on the heavier side. It's not too light, it's not too heavy, it's decently weighed. Now some plastic cladding is missing on this engine, but nonetheless this is the petrol variant, which is a 1.2 liter engine and offers a maximum power of 82 bhp and a maximum torque of 114 newton meters. As you can see, there's no insulation on the bonnet whatsoever. One other thing to note, that this 1.2 liter is the naturally aspirated version. The 1.2 turbo petrol which you get in the SX optional produces a maximum power of 118 bhp and a maximum torque of 172 newton meters, which is definitely higher than this 1.2 naturally aspirated petrol. Now coming to the front fascia, it has a very Alcazar-like grille and it's consistent across the variants of the Venue, but the rectangular bits are actually broader on the top but get narrower as we come down to that grille. The spaces are closed on the top, but they are open at the bottom of that grille so as to provide ventilation. The air dam is also of a decent size with this skid plate, which is finished in silver, although it is completely plastic, so there's no metal or anything like that. Now this is the headlamp unit, which is rather peculiar but also very similar to the outgoing generation of the Hyundai Venue. This is how it looks like when it's lit up. So the turn indicators are halogen on the top. This is the DRL, that's the LED project headlamp, and that is the high beam, which is again sort of a bulb. Now the turn indicators are not integrated in the headlamp and they are halogen, so that's kind of a miss, but this piano black finish is something that I really like, and it adds to the contrast of that headlamp and overall white color, since this color is white of the car, so it provides contrast. So that was for the front. It looks very similar, but only the grille is something that has actually changed from the outgoing generation. So that is the major change that you will see, as to notice that which generation of the Venue this is. Now this is the side profile. The length of the car is 3995 millimeters, since this is a sub 4 meter compact SUV, and the wheelbase remains a 2500 millimeters. So actually no change in the dimensions of the Venue as such as compared to the last generation. Now for the individual bits, you get body color door handles and there's no request sensor on the co-driver's side. You get no chrome whatsoever on the door sill. There's roof rails which are actually functional in nature and silver finishes there. The shark fin antenna is in body color, so no dual treatment or gloss black as such. The fuel lid is very ordinary looking, no style elements or anything like that. The turn indicators are on the outside rear mirrors, no blind spot camera or puddle lamp, but it's in body color. Now for the wheel, the petrol variants actually get a steel wheel, however the 1.5 diesel gets a 16-inch alloy, so that's really not done. And not just that, the tire profile is 185/65 R15, so they're actually a size smaller as well. I don't know why is that. I understand that there would be a price difference between the petrol and diesel, but still, why? Why not just give a 16-incher alloy in the petrol itself? But still, you do not get that. Now onto the rear. Rear is where the things get really interesting in this facelift, because it's completely redesigned. The tail lamps and this connecting treatment is something that we had not seen in the past, and those squarish tail lamps thankfully are a thing of the past now when it comes to the Venue, because this is really amazing. As for the features, you get a stop lamp inside and there's no spoiler of sorts. There's rear defogger and you do miss out on a rear washer wiper, which is very strange given this is a 10 plus lakh car, but I like this gloss black finish which runs from end to end and has this connecting tail lamp, which I'll show you in just a second, and gets SX badging, reflectors, and the reverse light is actually at the bottom, which is something that I really do not appreciate, but what can you do? There's rear reversing parking camera, rear parking sensors, and silver plastic diffuser of sorts, which is obviously not functional. You do not get any fake exhaust treatment because the real exhaust is at the right, a single treatment. Now this is how the tail lamp looks like. You can see that this sort of a hammer like design to the main tail lamp, and this is how it looks when it's lit up. So it's connecting and it goes like there like a hammer. The turn indicators are halogen, which have this three rectangular like appeal, and that's the brake stop lamp. So the reverse lights, as I mentioned, are at the bottom. I like this connecting thing so much. It enhances the rear of this car amazingly well, and I just love this treatment overall. What they have done to the new tail lamps for the facelift. All in all, a very good looking rear profile of the new Hyundai Venue, and I actually wonder why they did not do this design earlier also, because it's so good looking and it's so neat. For the boot, there's obviously no electric tailgate function, and you do get an electromagnetic button. The boot space is a 343 liters, which is not class leading as such, but it's still better than many of its competitors. That's the jack and all the equipment utilities that you need. The spare wheel is a 15-incher and it's of the same size, because all the four wheels are actually of a relatively smaller size as to what I expected, but it's not an alloy just like the other four wheels, so no alloys in this variant of the Hyundai Venue. This one gets a 60-40 split, and there's a halogen lamp to provide illumination in the boot as well. There's a parcel tray to keep your stuff and all, but yes, that is pretty much it for the boot space. Nothing fancy about it, and it will just suffice the purpose. It's also decently shaped and sized, so it would be easier to put your stuff in. The loading lip is actually a bit on the higher side. Now onto the rear seat. The door pads are all plastic. That is what saddens me honestly, and it's very basic looking. See, all plastics, no leather, no fabric, nothing. I am and I don't know what to feel about it. The door handles are exactly what we had in the previous generation. The bottle holder is actually of a smaller size. I'm not very impressed with the door pad, but this is the seat. It gets a recline function as well. So you can adjust it in two settings, the backrest. Now let's get into the back seat of the car, and the moment I get in, I see this dashboard where you can spot similarities as compared to the outgoing generation, but it's still very nicely done because it looks coherent, has this dual tone effect with beige and black. The leg room is decent enough, and you can see there's a magazine holder as well. It's decent at best. It's not extraordinary like that, but the thigh support is genuinely nice. As you can see, the thigh support is actually broad enough for me to actually be seated comfortably. The headrests are adjustable in this variant. The headroom is rather really nice, and there's a lot of headroom actually. There's no headrest for the middle passenger. I don't know why to do that. Now there is a center armrest with cup holders, but I'm not able to show you that because there's polythene over it, as you can see, and no matter what I do, I'm just not able to get that out. So you just have to trust me for now and believe that there is a center armrest, as you can see, with two cup holders. Now the grab handle is very violent as it goes so swiftly that there's no softness to it, which I really don't like. The cabin lamp is halogen, very basic, very ordinary, nothing very special about it. It does get center console rear AC vents, which has a silver finish to the knobs and the surrounds, so I really love that finish. Two Type-C USB sockets, and there's no basic USB socket or a 12-volt socket, but since most of the phones are charged through a Type-C to Type-C USB cord, this will suffice the purpose, so no complaints whatsoever. Overall, the back seat of the Hyundai Venue is a decent space to be in. There's good headroom, there's good thigh support, the legroom is just adequate. The backrest, although it can be reclinable to two settings, but on the first setting it's sort of upright. So that's that. It's a decent space to be in, nothing extraordinary or even nothing to complain about. I absolutely do not like the finish on these door pads because it's so basic. It's all plastic. Even this is plastic. This is plastic. Everything's plastic. The door handles are exactly the same, and I'm not a fan of this design. The tweeter. Look at this tweeter design. It's so basic. There's no innovation at all, which is very surprising coming from a Hyundai. So I just not a fan of this design. Now for the features, you get electrical adjustability and foldability for the ORVMs, 4 power windows with auto up down for the driver side, and obviously the lock buttons for the doors and lock button for the windows. Now this is how the key fob looks like, very Hyundai-like, and we see this in all the Hyundai cars. One side gets the Hyundai logo, and the other sides get three buttons: one for the lock, unlock, and third is for the boot release. So very Hyundai-like key fob. Now this gets completely manual adjustability for the driver's side, because only the SX optional gets a semi-powered driver's side adjust for the height and the backrest. Now, since this is a manual, you get three pedals, and there's a dead pedal at the left, but it's kind of on the narrower side. Now, that's the lever to open the bonnet, that's the lever to open the fuel lid, and that's the fuse box. So that's not a cubby hole. I love the treatment on the engine start stop button with this blue illumination. Very classy, very premium. This is the traction control button, and that's the headlight leveler. I love the finish on the engine start stop button. It's so damn nice. It's nothing that you would see in a Toyota or a Maruti. It's very nicely done. Hondas do come close, but this silver with blue illumination is something that I'm very impressed by that. Now this is how the instrument cluster greets you when you close the door. Starting the ignition, this is how the instrument cluster lights up. It's all digital, which I am particularly not a fan of, but this is still what you get. The left side, the left zero that you see is for the speedometer, and the right side is for the tachometer. Now it has this blue lighting on the edges that you can see, which you can actually toggle through and change the colors of it through the infotainment. The fuel gauge is on the bottom left, and the temperature gauge is on the bottom right. The odometer is at the dead center just below the MID, and as for the MID, it's actually in the shipping mode right now, so I'm not able to show you the features of it. Let me just disable it. Yeah, there you go. You get driving information for the range, the average, the distance to empty, and all of that, which we have actually seen in other cars. Compass and a tire pressure monitor, which is a really nice touch. And that's pretty much it for the instrument cluster. I would have definitely liked if they had given dials in a digital format only, because that would have actually improved the aesthetic of that instrument cluster by a lot. I just do not like the digital numbers for the speedometer and the tachometer. It just doesn't look classy at all. Now for the steering wheel, you get leather finish with this decut treatment and a flat bottom, 4 spoke which the Hyundai is going for, and a silver garnish which runs from spoke to spoke. So I really like that. The buttons are not in piano black finish, but the left buttons are for the voice control and the infotainment system. The right is to control the MID. You do not get any cruise control in this SX petrol variant, so that's kind of a miss. Left stock is for the wipers and the right stock is for the headlamps, although you do get auto headlamps in this variant. The steering wheel is actually only adjustable for tilt, and there's no telescopic function in this variant, so that is kind of a miss. They could have given that, but nonetheless you do get that in the SX optional. Now for the overall dashboard design, it's so identical to the dashboard that we had in the previous generation of the Venue that it's almost so same that I'm not able to actually differentiate between them, which is kind of sad. The same AC vents, the same dual tone colors. Although the one thing that I like is that the AC vents give an extended feel to the touchscreen, so I like that. But still, it is something that we had in the previous generation also. So not a lot of innovation when it comes to the dashboard design, which is something that I'm not very impressed by. I would have loved if they had played around with the elements in the dashboard itself. Now coming to the touchscreen, you get drive different users means different drivers. So this white sticker that you see actually is just part of the packaging. There's piano black finish at the back on the real touchscreen, but as you can see, you can create different user profiles for different drivers, which is really nice. Now let's skip the setup of this touchscreen and just go to the main menu. Very nicely done, very clean, very responsive, and I don't expect anything less from a Hyundai because they are just so awesome. You get valet mode, you get to control air conditioning from the touchscreen itself, where you can control the temperature, the ventilation, switch on or switch off the AC, the fan speed, everything. Although you do get a separate unit at the bottom, but it's just a feel good feature maybe that you can control it from the touchscreen, although there's no point as such since it's just right there at the bottom, but nonetheless. There's no ambient lighting in this variant, but you do get ambient sounds like sounds of nature and all those ASMR bits, which I have actually covered in the SX optional video as well. Now these settings are to assign a function to a specific button, as you can see down below for those buttons right below the touchscreen. For the other, you get general settings where you can see the system information, set the date and time. You have the inbuilt navigation as well. The vehicle settings, you can adjust the colors of the instrument cluster like I actually previously mentioned. So if you select theme B, the color of the instrument instrument cluster changes from blue to pink, and there's another theme C color as well. You can adjust the layout of the infotainment cluster. You have the inbuilt navigation and map, as I just mentioned. You can project your phone, and you obviously get a wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay functionality in the touchscreen as well. The buttons for the infotainment and that hazard lamp button is finished in a piano black finish, which I really like. Two knobs which are not of the same size, so that's rather odd, but you can control the volume and the power and different media sources with those buttons and knobs, so I like that. AC vents of this Hyundai Venue are a thing to actually fall for because they are so damn pretty. It's so Land Rover. It's like the design is inside that circular knob, and the buttons are also in those regulators on the left and right. So it's very neat. The only two buttons that are outside those knobs are the rear and the front defoggers. Apart from that, this AC button and the controls are absolutely amazing. I love it. For your power needs, you have one USB socket, one Type C, and a 12-volt socket in between, complete with a wireless charger, so you can charge your phone any way you want it to. The center console is finished in beige, but the silver garnish runs across the space where the gear lever is stored, so I like that. You do get two cup holders, one is of a smaller size, one is of a bigger size, and some space to keep your key just below the gear knob. There's a center console armrest, which does not get any air purifier, but I'm not complaining since I do not really miss that. But there's no socket or anything like that in the center console armrest, but nonetheless, it's of a decent size and space. You do get some space here as well. There's a glove box which gets the cool functions, obviously, since this is a Hyundai. So, ergonomically, a lot of spaces to keep your stuff. The gear knob has a really nice finish with complete leather finish with white stitching, no electric parking brakes. This is a manual handbrake. Hard plastics across the dashboard, no fabric or leather finish whatsoever, which is something that I really miss since this is one of the topmost variants of the Venue. Now onto the seats, it does not get any seatbelt adjuster, but the headrests are adjustable. The seat bolstering is really nice and the cushioning is also on point. The one thing that I miss is leather upholstery because it's completely fabric, so no leather usage whatsoever in the interior. The sun visor on the co-driver side gets a mirror but no lamp. The driver side sun visor does not get any vanity mirror and just a ticket holder of sorts. Now the IRVM is auto dimming, but the cabin lamp that you see is halogen. So very basic, very ordinary. The inside rear view mirror, as I mentioned, gets the SOS button and has the auto. Oh, it's not auto dimming. It's actually a day-night one. It does get the sunroof, which is a single pane sunroof, so no panoramic thing going on, but it's still of a decent size. So manual blinds, no automatic blinds, and a one-touch functionality to open the sunroof. Now there the sunroof opens, and as you can notice that it goes completely at the back, so there's a lot of space when you actually open the single pane sunroof, and when you close it, it's a decently sized sunroof given that it's just a single pane sunroof and not a panoramic one. So I'm actually impressed by the size of it. Actually, the competitors do offer a smaller size sunroof, so that's why I really like this one. For the safety features, it does get ESC, hill start assist, brake assist, and two airbags. You do not get six airbags. For that, you have to upgrade to the SX optional. So all the standard safety features are there. So that was pretty much most of the features for the SX variant of the Hyundai Venue. It actually gets pretty much everything that you would need and even want in a car of this segment. Some things that I dearly miss in this car in terms of features are Blue Link car connectivity, because if you opt for a diesel engine within the same variant, you will get that, but since this is a petrol, you would not get that. Second is the same case with the 16-inch wheels which you get in the diesel but not in the petrol, so that's again a miss. One more thing to note is that if you actually want to go for a naturally aspirated 1.2 petrol, this is the topmost variant you can buy because the SX optional does not come in a naturally aspirated petrol. It's only available in turbo petrol or a diesel engine, and even the turbo petrols get IMT or a DCT, so no manual naturally aspirated 1.2 that you get in the SX optional. So for that you would have to stick to the SX. Now for the some features that the SX misses out on in terms of the comparison with SX optional, one would be the semi-powered driver side adjustability, ambient lighting, part leather seat upholstery, an air purifier, and six airbags. So in terms of features, the only valuable feature that gets added is the addition of four more airbags. Apart from that, the only situation where I see someone upgrading from an SX to an SX optional would be when they want a turbo petrol or an automatic transmission, because apart from that, none of the features make sense as compared to the price difference that Hyundai is asking for the SX optional. So this is the one to go for if you're looking for a manual 1.2 petrol. Two things which I dearly would have wanted, since the 1.2 manual owners will only have this car to buy as a topmost variant, is a 16-inch alloy wheel. That is the most basic thing that they could have done. Connected car tech is not there, I can make do with it, but alloy wheels are something that actually add to the aesthetic and the drivability. So I would have loved that on the Hyundai Venue 1.2 SX, the price of which is 10.7 lakhs ex showroom for the 1.2 liter manual petrol, and the diesel one would cost you around 11.4 lakhs ex showroom. So the price overall is comparative, because even the other competitors are priced in a very similar price range and have almost the same list of features and the engine capacity. So the price is not at all disappointing. The only thing that I miss are the alloy wheels. The engine is also decent. The 1.2 might feel underpowered to some, but then you might consider 1.5 diesel. And if you think that 1.5 diesel, the diesel engines are going out of fashion, so you would have to go for an SX optional, which would cost you around at least 11.92 lakhs ex showroom for the IMT variant of the turbo petrol 1.2 SX optional, and will go high as 12.57 ex showroom for the DCT of the turbo petrol 1.2. So that's quite a price jump. But then again, if you want a turbo petrol, you would have to spend that much. So that was the review of the Hyundai Venue 2022 SX variant 1.2 liter manual. Do let us know what car would you go for if you had a budget of around 11 lakhs ex showroom for a compact SUV. Whether it would be the same Hyundai Venue that we covered today, or some different variant, or would be a different car from another brand altogether. So let me know, what do you think? Like our video if you liked our content. Subscribe to our channel for more such car reviews and walk around videos. Keep watching Throttle Up.